interfacing with the other stuff really, right? Fine. So let's start with the some theoretical concepts. Then we'll get into the SSH part. Okay. So up to the last class, we talked about the easy to user data, and we started working with the what can I say, some EC2 instances point of view. So before going into much deeper into like the what may I say EC2 volumes or like the EBS volume stuff, you need to know about the type of instances are available. Okay, so there are almost several types of instances available, like general purpose, compute optimized, memory optimized, accelerated computing, storage optimized, instance features, measuring instance performance, and HPC optimized. So why all those things has been given over here is that here these all those things are going to make sure for a particular use case. Okay, why? Because there might be a lot of use cases available. Okay, to be make sure that we are going to talk one more what can I say, two more concepts, like which EC2 option will be appropriate for which EC2 use cases. But because there might be a lot of use cases available, you can run with some EC2 instances that might be long lasting for a particular period of time, or you need a particular EC2 instances running for a single period, like running for X to Y. Like let me say, you need to have an EC2 instance. That EC2 instance should be working with from X to Y. What can I say? Timeline only. So for that is that for that timeline, we need to work with some kind of use cases. So you need to work with some kind of EC2 instances, and there are a lot of types also available. Okay, so let's go with first thing. And now we're going to deal with only the general purpose, the compute optimized, the memory optimized, and the storage optimized only. Why? Because these four is very important for you right now to deal with the what may I say, a solution architect overview. But the other thing, like the accelerated computing instance features, measuring the instance performance, and HPC optimized are much more higher level. And it's very important to know that these things are what may I say released recently, right? Why? Because a lot of things has been like it's been updating each and every day. Why? Because yesterday only like AWS has released one more feature for Japan region. So there are a lot of features has been releasing each and every day, and we need to work on that what may I say updation too. So first thing is all about the general purpose. So general purpose is nothing but you can use the general purpose instance type for the diversity of workloads such as work servers or code repos. The very important stuff is that if you have a web application, let's say you have a front end and you have a backend. Okay, you have a front end and you have a backend, and you want to have this application running inside a server. Okay, you want to have an application, want to have this front end and back end a full stack application running inside a server. So for this thing, what type of EC2 instances would be okay? Would be suffice is nothing but your general purpose EC2 instance. Why? Because it doesn't have much more. Like if you're working with some simple full stack applications, doesn't take much compensation about backend and doesn't have a lot of workload. If a client gives a request, server is gonna make sure to process the request and provide. The server is gonna give back the what may I say request at the backend thing. So it doesn't gonna take much time and isn't gonna take much work behind the backend. So if for these type of use cases, what type of instance is going to be used? Nothing but the general purpose instance type. So when we are using the general purpose instance type, there will be a kind of balance between the compute there will be a balance between the memory and there will be a balance between networking. Why? Because if it's very important, if the front end want to store some of the information in the backend, right? If we want to store some of the information in the backend, then you need to have a memory inside the server. Okay, it should have the memory inside the server. Point number one. And if the front end want to work with some of the info from the backend, like it has to take the info from the backend and starts to work on the information from the backend, then it has to work with the compute type of thing. Networking stuff is that now you do have a full stack the application and you have posted that inside the running server inside a general purpose Linux server. Now this server should be available online. Let's say I'm going to available inside 192.168.2.231. It should be available inside it. So it should provide a networking traffic for each and every user so that they can able to, what can I say, use this particular full stack application. So this is what the general purpose instance type is all about. Secondly, stuff is that the compute optimized instance type. So compute optimized instance type is more focused for the intensive tasks such as which requires the high performance processors. Let me give you another stuff. So compute optimized instance type has been released in such a way that if the application does has a lot of working behind the users as well as the servers. Okay, let me have the users, let me have the servers. If there is a lot of communication traffic between the there is a lot of communication between the users and the servers, then there will be a lot of compute work will be running behind them. So for this type of EC2 instances, we'll be going with the compute optimized EC2 instances, right? So what are those things which will be provided by the compute optimized EC2 instances? That first starting with the batch processing workloads. I think so. People have you already worked with batch processing workloads where you'll be working with a lot of running states. So we're going to talk a lot about AWS Batch, which is a batch optimized working service, which is available in AWS, where you'll be learning a lot of stuff like how to work with Batch, how to work with jobs which are running inside Batch, and how the process forward process, starting with the entry state, going to the runnable state, to the running state, to the terminated state, to the ending state, stuff like that. So you got to know about how the hierarchy will be working over there. And secondly, with the media transporting, and if you want to have an high performance web service, as I said, if you want to have a high performance web service, which should be having an elastic load balancing at the like elastic load balancing before the web server, then you need to have the compute optimized EC2 instances. Then, if you want to have an high performance computing type, let's say you're going to have with scientific modeling and machine learning stuff. If you have a machine learning stuff inside your server, then you need to work with the compute optimized instance type and dedicated gaming server. But right now, it is being, what may I say, upgraded to other levels like HPC's kind of stuff for dedicated gaming server. So like each and every time what we learn right now, so it might be available, but if it can also be transferred to other higher versions as well, right? And next thing what we're going to talk about is nothing but the memory optimized and storage optimized. So from the word itself, we can able to say if your server needs a lot of memory stuff and it has to work with a lot of like if you want to work with large amount of memory, then your focus should be working on the memory optimized thing. So it has fast performance for workloads that process larger data sets in memory. That's very important thing, guys. Why? Because whenever you're working, if you're working with kind of big data stuff, or if you want to work with machine learning stuff, right? So machine learning stuffs are very important thing, but because you need to have enormous number of data. Like even if you're working in the banking stuff, so some of the person in this meet are working in the banking stuff, they might are working with lot of users, right? Lot of users might have a lot of let's say he's gonna work with almost for 1 lakh users or 2 lakh users, stuff like that. So it can be increased from one point of view another point of view. So right now at the time, like right now the date is 20th Jan, so he's been working with 1 lakh users, but unfortunately, like in the 22nd Jan, it may be working with 10 lakh of users. So each and every time the users are increasing and the memory needed for the users are also increasing. Why? Because for each and every person, there will be a lot of information, name, date of birth, email address stuff, account number, and debit card information, credit card information, account information. All the stuff to be stored inside the servers, what we are already working on it. So for these kind of use cases, you should opt for your memory optimized. And what are the use cases can also be worked with the memory? Memory optimized is nothing but relational and non-relational databases. You guys know about what databases all stuff is, and we're going to talk a lot about databases when we are entering into the databases section. Why? Because there are two types of databases. One is relational databases, which are organized in the form of tables, where you can able to work with the query to retrieve the information or to store the information inside the table. And non-relational table, which can be also termed as NoSQL databases. One of the famous thing is MongoDB. If you have heard about it, or else we're also going to talk about it. So non-relational databases, which also stores your data in terms of key value pairs, documents, network way, etc., etc. stuff. and distributed web scale cat storage. And if you want to have an in-memory databases optimized for your business intelligence, if you like BI experts, if I want to have a BI experts and these BI experts want to work with large stuff of data. Why? Because they will create interactive dashboards for your business, for their business point of view, right? For that interactive and creative dashboards, they need to work with larger and larger amount of data. So for that thing, they need to go ahead and use the memory optimized EC2 instances. And if you want to work with real-time processing of big unstructured data, right now, just saying the example of the banking work. Right now, 20th Jan, you have 1 lakh of 1 lakh amount of users. But inside in 22 Jan, it might be 3 lakh. In 24 Jan, it can be 5 lakh. So it might be increasing. So it is in real-time data. So each and every time the data might be increasing. So for that kind of stuff, you can go ahead and use the memory optimized EC2 instances. Then finally, we're going to work with the storage optimized EC2 instance. What is the difference between memory optimized and storage optimized EC2 instances? Nothing but memory optimized provides you a larger data sets in memory, but storage optimized is going to work with how frequently you're going to use the EC2 instances to retrieve and going to have a lot of high sequential read and write access to the larger data sets, what I've already stored. Why? Because this is memory optimized used for storing large data sets, and storage optimized is going to work with how we are going to read and write from the what may I say from the larger data sets on the local storage. So that's why they have said that it's great for
IO.
storage intensive tasks. Yeah, kind of IOPS. Yes, like the input and output operations per second. What you're going to work with the large data sets on local storage, the same thing you're going to work on it. So first and foremost, use case is nothing but the online transaction processing system. Guys, do you know about what OLTP and OLAP is all about? That OLTP and OLAP,
No idea, Rahul, about this.
like OLTP and OLAP. Have you ever worked with databases in your things?
No, no.
Noted, right? Okay. Let's put it in the case. So what OLTP and what OLAP is nothing but OLTP stands for online transaction processing. OLAP stands for online analytical processing. Okay. So I'm not going to talk much about OLAP right now. Why? Because when we are dealing with databases, we'll be talking with online analytical processing. OLTP is nothing but it's also based off of databases. It's nothing but whenever you're storing your data, it's gonna be a transaction based. Why? Because you're gonna have to and forth communication with the databases what we have. Right? You can put like let's say you're gonna put amount 5,000 in your bank account. So 5,000 is being put inside your bank account. After a while, you're gonna take an amount that 3,000 take an amount of rupees 3,000 from that same bank account. So there's going to be a transaction between you and the what can I say banking account. So this is going to be called as transactional processing. There will be a to and fro communication between you as well as the banking account. What we have, banking account is nothing but the databases where your account and the information about the account and all the amount will be stored inside. So there will be a to and fro communication, and there are a lot of things you need to work on. There will be synchronous way of communication. There will be asynchronous way of communication, and they will be also have lot of tedious things which will be happening. There will be a lot of mutation checking will be happening. There will be a lot of disturbances, but I'm not going to talk huge about it. But I'll try to understand it in such a way that we have to work on, right? And moreover, storage optimized EC2 instances will also work for the relational and NoSQL databases too. And it also work for the in-memory databases, for example, Redis and data warehouses application and distributed file systems. So these are the four important, what may I say, the EC2 instances that you need to know of. First, with the general purpose, which has been okay for a simple web server, what you're going to deploy inside your EC2 instance. Secondly, you are supposed to work on the, what may I say, memory optimized. Second, you have to work with the compute optimized if you have a lot of jobs running over into it. Thirdly, you have to work with memory optimized, and finally, the storage optimized. So far, so good, right? Have you understand about what are all the different types of EC2 instances available with the use cases? What you're supposed to be followed over there?
Yes.
Okay, got it. So if you have any doubts, you can just ping me so that I can, or else we are at the end of the class, we'll start to work with the use cases. Now let's get into the next important concept inside the what may say EC2 like the Elastic Compute Cloud, which is nothing but the security wall, or you can also take it as a firewall. Okay, so how the firewall is being provided? Let's say this is an EC2 instances. Okay, and some of the diagrams would have taken from the internet guys, and I'll followed a lot of courses from Stephen Marek, and some of the things will be for taken from the Stephen Marek course diagrams. So you can also follow that thing. In this is going to be the EC2 instances what we are deploying. Now we need and I also written a code inside like for the server to run on. Like we are having a EC2 user data, right? Like we created an we have to install the HTTP server, and we have to execute a command to present that hello world from this IP address, stuff like that. Okay, this is what we're gonna work on. So for this EC2 instance, I'll work on it. Like I'll insert a blank page to work on it. Okay, so this is an EC2 instances, and I've written in web server to I've included a web server and deployed a web server inside the virtual thing. Now I'm gonna have the security wall behind. So this security wall is nothing but the security groups. So what security groups is nothing but the security groups will allow the traffic and also deny the traffic. Allow the traffic or deny the traffic based on the port information. Okay, guys, do you know about port 22? What port 22 states about it? Since people who are also working in networking.
SSH.
Yes, okay, that's okay. SSH. And what is for HTTP and what is for HTTPS?
8443.
No, what HTTP or what is the port number? HTTP?
80.
HTTPS 443.
443 for HTTPS, right? Now,
Yes.
for file transfer, FTP.
21.
445.
21. 21.
Let's
FTP
I also
21,
have-
sorry.
Wait.
21. Perfect.
21. Yes, it is.
21.
21. Okay, 21. Okay, so we are making sure that these port numbers are known for us. If we give the port number in such a way that I'm going to take a security group, I'm going to attach a security group to this EC2 instances called a demo EC2 instances, and I'm going to say that, hey, security group SC1, I've attached to an EC2 instance called demo, and you're going to allow these traffics only. Allow SSH 22 with the port number 22, and allow HTTP, which is nothing but 80. Okay, HTTP with this 80. Okay, now what happens is nothing but any traffic. That's what I say in the last class I've just given you, right? I've told you to work on with only with HTTP. Why? Because we haven't allowed HTTPS security thing to it. Okay, now I'm going to put in traffic inside. Traffic is nothing but the traffic is coming from the port number 22, which is an SSH. Now, this security group is being attached into it, right? And this security group has a policy in such a way that it has to allow 22 and it has to allow the HTTP, which is an 80 port number. Now, it has to check whether the port number has been similar for all those traffic which has been already allowed. Yes. Now, this port can enter into the, EC2 instance. Okay. All right. Now, let's have another traffic coming from any kind of users, right? But unfortunately, it comes from the HTTPS, right? HTTPS is nothing but 443 has the port number. I'll check the security group. Unfortunately, security group doesn't have any kind of allow rules in such a way that 443 is there or not. So this thing will be denied. Okay. So this is how the security groups will provide you the firewall to the EC2 instances what you have created. And moreover, what is the very important thing is nothing but first thing, it has explicit allow. Okay. And moreover, you can also like what I think is nothing but I've not mentioned the HTTPS traffic over here, so you don't want to allow it. And the incoming traffic rules are stated as inbound rules. Okay, let me wrap it so that. Okay, so the incoming traffic rules has been set as inbound rules, and the outgoing traffic rules from the EC2 instances is going to be called as outbound rules. And to be more precise, these inbound rules and outbound rules are given by are like, what can I say, are configured by the security groups. So far, so good, right? But because in the last class, I haven't explained you much about the security groups, but this time I need to explain you much, right? That's why. So far, so good, right? Have you understand the security groups concept? Hello?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Okay, sure.
Yes.
Now let's say let's see some basic fundamentals thing. So security groups are nothing but the fundamental of your network security in AWS. I would say that before getting into a lot of like security stuff, right? Because not only security groups, you also learn about NACL in your VPC section. NACL is nothing but network access controllers, but I'm saying you it. Network access controllers are same as the security group. Security group has been attached to the EC2 instances. NACL has been attached to the virtual private cloud, what you already have. Okay, right now I'm just saying, but there will be a huge difference between the NACL and security groups. We're gonna talk about it. And as I said, it is going to control both input traffic and output traffic from R2 of the EC2 instances. And security group contains only allow rules. Okay. Did you ever notice that I haven't attached any deny rule for HTTPS? Am I? Haven't I attached any deny rule for HTTPS 443 port number?
No.